your Ph.D. thesis had something to do with intangibles.
Yes, yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Of course. My discovery was that when we are doing restoration of historical monuments, we concentrate mainly on material structure.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing this, we really forgot about not only intangible, because intangible is almost declared as a part of tradition, part of oral, heritage of the people, like a folk, art and so on. In my understanding, intangible is over material subject which is closely related to historical buildings, historical materials, interiors, space, because not only material counts, but also those impressions which people can perceive by their, how to call it, receptors, not only eyes, because it is our, how to call it, that part that our reception is almost 95% by eyes, and only 5 is by other receptors, but they are almost important on the same level. But we concentrate only what we are seeing, not what we are feeling, not we are how to calling getting from the historical buildings. And the shock was for me when you just are able to get into the historical object and close eyes, and what you feel, not what you see,
right.
What you feel. In many historical buildings you don't feel anything because they are emptied, because of the smells, because of those stuff. They are completely different than historical ones. Therefore it is the subject of my thinking that when we are going to do really good job in preservation, we have to use 2 tools. One, material, and second, over material. Because only by combination of both you are receiving the proper preservation of cultural heritage.
We have I've been involved in discussions about feeling the building, feeling the structure, and there's talk about barefoot, going into a building barefoot in order to more aptly feel what's there, and often there's talk about tasting things.
Yeah.
Taking your finger and tasting for salts, or but I sense that there's something more than just the sensory. It's more than hearing, feeling, tasting. There's more. There's something that more. When all of those are brought together, there's a feeling even higher than that of spirit, of the spirit of the place. Is that?
Yeah.
Is that?
And for example,
work for you?
I want just to remind you, because we were together on this workshop of historic carpentry. On jak to miejsce się, Witku, nazywało? Cośmy byli na tym workshopie timber framerów.
Fairmont? On the bridge?
Tu pod Nowym Jorkiem. Co byliśmy, a potem pojechaliśmy dalej. To był taki workshop.
Workshop to which year was it?
2002.
Because we are in Ph.D. We were in Virginia, in Shepherdstown.
Not Shepherdstown. Tutaj pod Nowym Jorkiem dosłownie.
Floyd Bennett Field, but
To nie framers.
What did you make?
We were with Misha Leonard. She was with those school guys. Remember this?
It was, the last time Misha Leonard with the school guys, I remember, on Floyd Bennett Field. And the second thing was like Fairmont. She was with this kid. We were traveling with a kid in our car.
In West Virginia.
No, it was close to New York.
Close to New York, New Jersey.
And we were in the party, evening.
Burlington,
Vermont.
Oh, north. Okay.
And
Burlington, in the suburbs of New York.
Vermont. Okay.
and we were on this party.
Mm-hmm.
And together we went to the historical building, which looks absolutely typical. Like a barn, almost. Very simple building. But what was impressive, what was shocking, and what created the historical atmosphere of this building was the possibility of gaming with historical game of 18th century with light of candles, with the lady who was using historical clothes. Therefore, we enter to the history, not only to the simple historical building, but we enter to the heritage. Therefore, it was shocking for me that such a simple possibilities gives you power. You don't need special efforts to do to receive it, even simple, but real. And because they create the historical atmosphere of heritage.
Well, we have a lot of that here in the United States. Is this something that you do not have in the historic sites in Poland? The recreation, the reenactment, people dressing in costumes and tending the garden or being the shopkeeper.
Yes, of course. Therefore, those renouncements are important to start to create such atmosphere. But this has to be connected with the historical site, with the historical monuments. The important is complexity.
Yeah.
Important is the complexity. Not only that you change clothes for historical ones. You are not creating true the history. Same with the music.
Yeah.
If you play Vivaldi, for example, somewhere in the very modern hall, there is no history in it. It's only some music. But when you be able to transfer Vivaldi music to historical interior with the people behaving like in historical, they create this ambience with the not electrical light, with the candles. It is this atmosphere I'm thinking about.
It reminds me of the church that we went to where you had the musical group.
Yes.
Come. That was really incredible. That was an incredible experience.
Because we received something which is very close with the real heritage. It's not artificial, it's not fake, it's absolutely genuine. And this gives a power. This genuine gives power.
It was extremely good theater in the fact that no one in the audience was not expecting it.
Yeah.
The fact that I've written about it, the fact that we got off the bus and we all went in different directions, but then we ended up at the same place. And that was quite remarkable experience for that. And that wasn't, were you thinking in terms of recreating that sort of an event? In doing that, or
I'm not thinking that we can just create events for events.
Yeah.
We have to create such a historical playground, we can say, to provide possibility for such a spectacular activity. It is not a problem that we have to create professional groups to do it.
Right, yeah.
It is not needed only by professionals. Maybe they will be amateurs, because being amateur, they can learn something. They will be somehow involved. It is much more important than see professionals. Important is when you start to do heritage, not only see others.
So it's the audience being immersed in, engaged in the activity.
Yeah, therefore
Each person. In the United States, we have several restored villages. It was the very wealthy who initiated these places like Colonial Williamsburg, or in Virginia, or Greenfield Village in Michigan. One from Rockefeller and one from Henry Ford. But you're not talking about recreating. You have Skansens in Poland, but you're not talking about going and recreating an historic atmosphere where people go inside the fenced area, the large fenced area, and everything is old, and the people are all walking around dressed in costumes.
Sometimes it is impossible. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes it should be, depending on the possibilities. But we, as a conservator, should think very seriously about those two artifacts, like a material approach and over-material approach. Those should be in some way combined to create possibilities that person who will be not prepared, who will be a little bit astonished that that such a person entered to something more than he expected. And it is a value of preservation. Not only to paint white walls or change the floors, change windows, and say, oh, now you are in perfect restored historical buildings. It's not true, in fact. Because you are entering to the historical building, but completely changed by, of course, modern needs. But this preservation is done too far. And we have to find those elements to establish the way how we should do the good preservation of historical monuments. There is no easy answer that you have to do this. No, you have to combine with it.
Video by Prilep, PCLS. Google us.